In this video, I'm going to show how to replace the rear brake hose on this Lexus IS. This connects your brake line to your brake caliper, located behind your rear wheels. Let's get started. With the vehicle safely raised and supported, use a 21mm socket, remove all 5 lug nuts, and then pull the wheel off. As a note, if one of your lug nuts is the locking lug nut type with the little socket that fits right on it, do not use an impact tool on it. Break it free by hand before you lift the vehicle up, or it could snap the little splines on the tool. I don't have that on this wheel, so I'm just going to take all of them off with my socket and impact gun. If your wheel is stuck on, put a lug nut on it so that it doesn't fall off, and then from the back side, take a rubber mallet and tap the tire, not the wheel, and that should break it free. Remove the wheel. Now with the wheel off, we can see where the brake hose attaches to the brake line. What I want to do first is to make sure that this fitting will not only break free from its threads on the hose, but also spin freely around this line. Now if this breaks free, we have no problem replacing the hose however we want, but if it is stuck and seized on the line, what we have to do is break the hose free and remove it from the other end so we can then twist the hose off the fitting instead of twist the fitting off the hose. Let's use a 10mm flare nut wrench, put it on the fitting, try to break it free. All right, well, it looks like I broke free the fitting and it's spinning independently of the line, which is amazing. That's exactly what we wanted. I'm gonna work this back and forth a little bit. I'll snug it up slightly. Let's now move to the other end. Even though this broke free, I'll show you what I like to do. I like to replace the hose starting over there so we can then just swap it quickly here and lose the least amount of brake fluid. With a collection bucket underneath, because fluid will drain out of this caliper, and a 14mm socket, remove the banjo bolt that holds the hose onto the caliper. I'm actually using a 12mm because my banjo bolt is no longer the original one, but 14mm if you have the original. We'll break it free. As soon as I break it free, brake fluid starts dripping. That's totally normal. So we'll take this completely off and make sure that both of these little washers come off with it. There's one here and one here. You don't want those to get stuck on the hose. Now we will be reusing the banjo bolt, so once you take it out, you're going to want to inspect it, making sure that it is not stretched or damaged or twisted. Sometimes that happens. And of course, if it's in really poor condition here and the head of it is rusted away, you're going to want to replace it. This one looks to be in great shape. Of course, it's new. I removed both of those washers. I'm going to set this aside so that we can limit the amount of brake fluid loss. I'm going to pinch this off, the old hose that is, with some pliers. If you don't have these special hose crimping pliers, you can just use some locking pliers and pinch it shut. I wouldn't do this to the new hose, but once again, this is the one we're replacing, so this is fine. Your new hose comes with 2 new copper washers. Install one on the banjo bolt, then take the hose and put the banjo bolt through it. And on the other side, install the other copper washer, sandwiching the hose right in between the two. Then we want to install the hose and the banjo bolt on the caliper, making sure that this little hook lines up with the opening that is cut out for it on the caliper. It should not be able to twist around. And then of course bottom this out so that we can then snug it and torque it. That's snugged up. Torque this to 22 foot-pounds. And that's it right there. We'll come back to the caliper in a minute. For now, let's replace the other end of the hose. All right, back up over here. Let's break free this fitting again. At this point, we can just switch to a regular 10mm wrench. It will make things a whole lot easier. Before I pull it out completely, I'm actually going to remove this locking clip so that once brake fluid starts dripping out, we can, like I said, quickly swap over the new brake hose. And to remove these clips, there's a couple different ways you can do this, either with a screwdriver or a little pry bar in here, or some pliers. Just grab onto it and pull it straight out. And this is all that locks in your brake hose. Remove this, and at this point you can just unthread the brake hose. Set that aside. Old brake hose is removed. We'll take the new one, slide it in And at this point we can't spin the brake hose because it's attached on the other end. So this is why it was important to figure out if the fitting can spin freely or not, because now that is what we have to do. We have to spin the fitting, and be careful not to cross thread this. These threads are fine, and sometimes they like to hang up if the fitting isn't perfectly lined up with the hose, so they do tend to cross thread quite often. Make sure that it catches, which it just did, so that's perfect. Just going to thread this on most of the way. Oh, that's starting to spin the hose, which means it is almost bottomed out. Now we have to secure the hose, of course, and you'll notice that it has 2 flat spots. Those 2 flat spots have to go on the back and on the front of this bracket. So I'm going to use my pliers to gently twist this and stick it up into position. Hold it there, take that locking clip, press it in, and tap it in. Now the hose is locked in position. So that'll hold it on for us so we can finish tightening this fitting. And that right there is pretty much as tight as I want to go. About 1/8 of a turn after it bottoms out. All you really need to do is squish that line a little bit. The flared end of the line will seal up onto the hose. Now I want to clean this area with brake parts cleaner. I don't want to leave brake fluid on there for a couple of reasons. 1, it damages paint, it'll peel it off, so all of this will peel away. But 2, we won't know if we have a leak if it's already wet with brake fluid. All right, that looks good. Let's go back over to the caliper and bleed it. At the top of the caliper, you'll see where the bleeder screw is. Remove the cover and use a 10mm wrench to break this bleeder screw free. There we go. And now with a collection bucket underneath, we'll wait until fluid comes out of the bleeder screw and there are no more air bubbles popping up and out of here, and that means the air is gone out of this line and the caliper. That is called a gravity bleed, and that's basically because gravity is pulling fluid in and pushing it up and out. However, after this, even though this should take care of most, if not all, of the air that's in the system, you might want to do a full manual brake bleed, which you'll see how to do at the end of the video. But for now, let's wait for our gravity bleed. All right, we got a steady trickle of fluid here. There are no air bubbles coming out, so I'm going to close this off. Snug it. Don't go too tight on it. You don't want to strip it out or break it. We'll clean off any of the brake fluid that leaked down. Use some brake parts cleaner to rinse it. And once you have this all cleaned off and dried up, cap it off so that you don't get any debris inside the bleeder screw that'll clog it up. Let's get the wheel back on. Start on all 5 lug nuts, bottom them out in a cross pattern, and also in a cross pattern, torque them to 76 foot-pounds. "76 foot-pounds in a cross pattern, here we go. Double check them. Now don't forget to pump up the brake pedal, top off the master cylinder, and of course take it for a road test. Located on the driver's side of your engine compartment right by the firewall, you'll see your brake master cylinder. Use a rag or a paper towel just to remove any debris and dirt that is around the cap so that when we open it, nothing falls inside. This is the best I can do, and at this point I'm going to remove the cap. Carefully, not to drop anything in there. Looking at the cap, you can see that it says to only use .3 brake fluid, so that's exactly what we're going to use. Before I start though, I will remove all of the old brake fluid from the master cylinder. To do that, there's actually a little screen in here that you'll have to turn and twist so you can get it out. We'll set that on a rag. Now using a small hose with a vacuum pump or a fluid transfer pump, anything you have that'll remove fluid from this reservoir, use it and take out as much as you can. This master cylinder has a bunch of little compartments in here. I did my best to get all the fluid out. You'll never get 100% of it out, but at this point it's empty, so let's fill it up with some fresh .3 brake fluid. Just as a precaution though, before I do that, Going to place this screen back in here, turn it clockwise until it seats all the way down. The fill line for this master cylinder is this right here, so we'll fill it up to that line. That's it right there. Let's cap it off. The bleeding sequence on this vehicle will start at the right rear wheel, that's the passenger side rear, then move over to the left rear, then we're going to top off the master cylinder, then move over to the right front and bleed that caliper, and finish up with the left front. After all of this, if you think you still need to bleed because there's air in the system and the pedal doesn't feel nice and firm, bleed again in the same sequence, making sure to top off the master cylinder every other caliper. We are at the right rear wheel, and I have an assistant inside the vehicle that's ready to pump up the brakes and then hold the pedal to keep pressure in the system. I'm going to remove this bleeder screw cap, and then with a 10mm wrench, I will open it up. Have a collection bucket underneath to catch the fluid. I recommend having some sort of a hose that can go over the bleeder screw. That'll make a lot less of a mess. You can go ahead and pump now.
Holding.
All right, they're holding pressure, so I'm going to open this up.
Floor.
All right, I reached the floor. Go again. We're going to do this until we see no more air bubbles coming out of this bleeder screw.
Holding.
Okay.
Floor.
All right, let's go again.
Holding. Floor.
Okay, go again. Although there are no air bubbles coming out, I see very dark fluid here, so I'm going to go until it clears up a little bit.
Holding. Floor.
Looking better. Let's do it one more time.
Holding. Floor.
Okay, you can let go now. Fluid has cleared up. I'm going to remove my hose, wipe off any brake fluid that may have spilt, use brake parts cleaner if needed, and then cap it off. That way it doesn't get clogged up. Now let's move over to the left rear caliper and do the same thing. It's time to top off the master cylinder, so remove the cap, fill it up until it's full, and then cap it back off so it can stay sealed up. I've topped off the master cylinder, it's now full again, and we are at the right front caliper, ready to bleed. We're going to do the same exact thing. My assistant will go ahead and pump.
Holding.
All right, holding pressure, so I'm going to open the bleeder screw.
Floor.
All right, go again.
Holding. Floor.
And again. Once again, no bubbles, but this is very dark, so we'll do it a few times.
Holding. Floor.
Okay, one last time.
Holding. Floor.
Okay, you can let go now. This has definitely cleared up, so we're going to remove this. I'm going to wipe everything down. Unfortunately, this one for me did not have a little cap on the bleeder screw, so I'm going to leave it as is. We're going to move over to the left front now and do the same thing. That'll be our last caliper. Top off the master cylinder one last time, take the cap off, fill it up to the max line, and put the cap back on. Now you can put the wheels on, torque them to 76 foot-pounds, and take it for a road test.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.